So tonight the topic for those that just arrived, it's design against styling, or the difference between design and styling. And of course, therefore, what it means to be a designer or a stylist, which is also a big debate that often we have when people of my generation or of younger generation have to face up what an older generation thinks about it. You know, when I started to be a designer in Italy, I remember that I had some people that were working with me saying that, "Are you the stylist?" And I would get mad. I'm not a stylist. I am a designer, which is big difference. Yeah, see that he's saying design is problem solving. In a way, you are right, but it's not just that. And if someone can tell me what is styling, when we talk about styling, what are we talking about? Design is creativity, Fedi, yes, but not just creativity. And when I say styling, Fedi, what do you say? Yeah, aesthetics. All right, so Martin is doing really well, molto bene, bravo. Soy muy contento que todo va bien. My little Spanish, okay? Mohammed is an architect also, great. So, Mohammed, you're gonna be interested by this topic tonight. So, beauty flying, styling, okay, yeah, it could be. More personality to a product, yes and not. Yes, it's really great. Okay, good. Thanks, gracias. Design is to create a design to produce a design. Well, it's a little bit awkward the way you said it, but in a way you said something which is very interesting too. To inspire others. Yeah, yes and not. You can just be creative. You can be just a creative person and inspire other people. And now we are 23. Hey, put your like, yeah? And if you are not subscribed to this channel, don't forget to do it. So I'm still reading your answers. It's not a simple answer. Yeah, Martin. No es fácil. It's not easy. But what can I tell you is this, that every time that somebody is telling me that I am a stylist, who is the stylist of the project, I really get mad. It's so reductive to call me a stylist. Because when you say stylist to someone, basically what are you telling to this person? What type of definition are you using for this person, okay? Basically, you are saying that a stylist is just an artist. Because a stylist is someone that has ideas, which is okay. It's part of creativity. Let's see, there are a lot of make a product in such a way that the buyer can relate to it somehow. That's more design. Yeah, that's cool, right? And then styling is much more visual than functional. Yes, Mohammed, our architect said something really cool. Go and read his comment because it's really nice. Martin, ¿qué está escribiendo? As designer, you can do styling. As a stylist, I guess you can design. Yeah, that's also, Martin also said something very interesting. So let's go back to what I was saying. When people call me, you're a stylist, I get mad because they are just recognizing that I have creativity, okay? I have creativity, but that creativity, it's not really fully satisfying to make a project. My creativity can be useful just to give a vision, just to say, yeah, it would be nice if we could do that. Instead, if they call me a designer, I'm very happy because it means that all the time being at university, studying, and then making projects, it means that to be a designer served the team to produce a design. And the real meaning of the word design, it's project. It is a project. To make a project, to design, it comes from Latin or Greek, which means disegnare, I think more Latin, where it means at that time already, it meant to make a project. So when we make a project, we don't do just styling, or we don't do just the artistic part. We do everything that there is in the activity of making a project in order to know how to make a project, which means problem solving, as someone of you just said it, functionality, macro feasibility or micro feasibility, cost efficiency, timing, which means I have a planning, okay? How I can work with suppliers. So when we say that we are designers, we are people that use the creativity and convey that creativity to answer to what? Anybody knows? If I have a project, how do I start a project? Come on, guys, you have a project. How the hell do you start? Why do you start? That's a nice question. Why? That's the most important question. Why do you start a project? And how you do it? Let me read. I had a question. If you wish to work on a project, take a brand, do you need that brand's permission? No, in school you don't need brand's permission. You just do it. In school it's fine. And also for your portfolio it's fine. Don't worry. Design is solving in a way that make the eye, yeah, okay. Function, yeah. Market research, okay. That's a good answer from Cedar. And then, hello, sir, good to see you with another video. Yeah, thank you, Segar. Keep following. I'm happy you are there. Problem statement. Yeah, in a way, let's make it easy, okay? I'll try to give you the keyword. We receive a briefing, which is called the project briefing, okay? So I guess that now that I said it, those people that are going to design school say, yeah, shit, it's true, it's the briefing. That's what we have to do. Yeah, you have a briefing. And in the real life, who is the entity within a company or a client that gives you that briefing? Anyone knows? I look at the answers, at your comments to see what comes out. Answering customer needs. That's right, Fetty. But who gives this to us when we are in a company? I'm a designer for Renault today, okay? Before I was in Fiat Design Center. And we also received briefing from market research, yes and no. Not just from them. They are part of the big entity that is responsible to give the briefing. Anyone? What we can make which should be better than existing products in every aspect. Yeah, but high manager, head of company. Yeah, Pratyush is a little bit closer. Pratyush Vasula, vice president, who is also designer. Oh, yes and no. No, the real entity, okay, that prepares a package of briefing for a certain type of projects is the product planning. No project manager, the product planning. And the product planning entity, which is a big service within a company, just like design is, they have the responsibility of studying markets, okay? Yeah, nice to have you here also, Mr. Noam Hammond. Thank you. So The research marketing department is part of product planning. And product planning are the people, is the entity that decides the planning, the overall planning during 10 years for the company, okay, in which you find the whole car families, okay, from the small segment A car to the big sedans or limousine if it's an American company, okay. So the product planning is responsible to prepare the briefing for each of those projects, okay, and to do so they have market research, people that work on planning, people that work on cost, all those people together, and they make a package. And after they go and present this to the president, the vice president of the company, they take a strategic decision with the vice president of design, vice president of planning, vice president of engineering department, so the big, huge family of engineering, okay, innovation engineering, okay, also. And together up there, you know, this is called the level number 2 of top management. They take the decision of doing that project with that type of briefing. And the project briefing can be modified by the other actors like design, engineering, because everyone will say, of course, will give a feedback. That's normal. But after a short time, the product planning people or manager for the project makes the synthesis and puts everything together into one single project briefing. Great. So now we have our Bible. So we have our chapter. You're gonna do this project, and to do it, I tell you that the trend of that product for the next 10 years will be this one. Then I tell you what is the client type for each geographic plaque, okay? So whether it's China, Asia, Europe, Russia, Japan, America, Latin America, you know, all those geographic plaques in which cultures are different. So you cannot make a product that will be the same for everybody. It's not going to work. So companies today, what do they do? Like Renault, which are global companies. We have a production site in Europe, another one in America Latina, another one in China, another one in Turkey, another one in Morocco, another one in northern, I don't know where. So basically, we make sure in India, let's not forget India, which is very important for Renault, you know, and for other companies like Volkswagen, like Toyota. You know, there are a lot of companies from Europe and from Asia that are getting into India since several years. So what happens there? We study locally, okay, the local cultures, and we make sure that that project can be modified locally in some parts so that you can make a sort of a world car that has a lower cost because they are produced in a certain way. Okay, but this is just to give you an overall view of how a project briefing is developed and then applied to each of those countries, you know, or those markets, I would say. Let's talk about markets. That's more correct. And then what happens is that once we do that, the design takes that briefing and then we start working. So the designer starts from that project briefing. And then after the project briefing, the designer receives also another briefing, which is the technical briefing. And who is the entity in a company that gives us that technical briefing? Anyone knows? Tell me. I'm reading also your comments. solving actual problems, maybe design future. Yeah, okay. Everybody are writing correctly their things. Well, now there are 26. Put your like to this video. Don't forget. Okay. Engineering manager. Yes, yes, yes. So Fetty had the right answer. It's the first one. The engineering department that has a manager, a director, and a group of people that technically are working to make the platform, the architecture, the ergonomy, what type of engine, what type of mechanical parts, what type of cost, because that will define your cost. That thing will be put next to the product briefing in a way that both of them are very cohesive. Okay, if the product briefing is for a small car, the engineering department is not gonna do a sports car. It's gonna work for that, and that's correct. So design will take both of them, put them together, and then we start making design, the project. So you understand already the difference between design and styling is that if we were just stylists, we wouldn't need the technical part. We would just make some nice sketches, beautiful illustrations, thinking about what the product planning told us to do, and dreaming of a beautiful scenario to come without having a clue of what could be realized or not, and with which cost and timing. So it would be just a blue sky project that can give you a feeling of what we would like to see on the road as a brand, but does not give you all the answers to make the project become reality. So in order to make that project become a reality, designers are not stylists and don't behave like stylists. They behave as for what they are, designers. So there is the problem solving. And those people that said problem solving, they are right. You guys are right. Problem solving. And who can make that problem solving? But generally, they are designers or design managers. Why? Because a design manager on a project has the responsibility for the exterior and the interior design project, which means the whole project. Because we are talking to every person that is working in the team, okay, to make the project become reality. So, if you talk to an engineer that is working on suspension, he will tell you that he's working on the suspension, that he has a cost, he has a size, he has a weight problem, he has a stress test problem, that is using certain type of planning, and then he knows that he has to make a running prototype of his suspension. He doesn't even know how is the interior design of that project, and probably doesn't even care. Instead, me as design manager or me as designer, I see the whole thing because I must be responsible for the cohesiveness, okay, of the whole project. And product planning is the same thing. Product planning manager wants to make sure that the design and the technical part fit together to make a very cohesive, a coherent project. So I would say that the designer, more than other people, are really the ones that are there to make the problem solving using their creativity and putting that creativity to the service of the whole team. I just checked some of your comments. I think the cards of future will have simple form. Yes, I agree. You killed it, Siddharth. Siddharth, what did it say? It's India wants more in less money. That's true. That's why my remote quid is live for more. Yeah. Okay, I have to know about the suspension, about the seat, the windows, the pillars, etc. Yeah, Martin. In reality, as a designer, I give you a very simple example. I have a project this time, which is a full interior. I have to go to the whole meetings, okay, with the engineers and suppliers that are making every single part of it, of that interior. And if there is some problems, or there is a designer that worked on that interior that will help me if it's some big, and if some small thing that needs a decision or a small modification, sometimes I do it myself because I'm a designer at the base, okay? But as a design manager, I can do that. And I can help the team to think in a different way to solve that problem. So I have how can I say, that project will become a running prototype, which means something that has to work, but it has a very interesting design, very modern design, I would say even futuristic design. Then in that case, to defend that design and to keep promoting that design, I am responsible for every single alias, okay, mathematics, digital element that is digitalized, okay, is done, and then interfaces with the technical part, interfaces with the cost management, interfaces with the timing, interfaces with design quality in terms of how that part is made and how that part goes next to another part, like for example a door panel, with buttons and other stuff. They are all together. But how do you put all that stuff together? Then in that case, I am into that meeting, helping everybody how we're going to do that so that it's going to be successful. It's going to be beautiful as the design model. So when I do all that activity, how can people think that I'm doing styling? I'm not doing styling, I'm doing design. And that's the big difference between designer and stylist, or design and styling. When I see people saying, "Oh, that's a nice style you made," I get mad. Also in the exterior design, same thing. Because when you want, for example, okay, when you want to make a very beautiful front end or rear end, or very nice side view of a car, very nice and with a very beautiful sculpture, of course, those are all technical sections that have to interface with what's inside a door panel. And sometimes we take the things that in a door panel basically are all in vertical. We have to reorient it differently to make sure that the sports car has that type of side section that makes of that sports car a real cool, sexy sports car. I cannot say to the engineer, "Okay, don't worry, I'm going to straight up everything," because I'm going to make a box. And that wouldn't be sexy. So when we think to this type of action, okay, in terms of professional life of a designer, more we understand that a designer and a design manager or a design director have have a very important responsibility in helping the whole team, which is made of many people, okay, and there's also a lot of money involved, to make sure that everything comes together correctly. And another aspect which is very, very important in terms of design management and not styling management is that when we get to the final part, before production, before a prototype is finished, if it's not for production, but just as an innovative project to make studies, okay, internal studies that are not presented to the press. So I would say some top secret type of projects. Well, then we have to be there to help them when they have problems. Because at the end of the last month, before we start making the parts and we start assembling those parts together, we still have problems. And because those are the elements that everyone will see, uh, the door panel, exterior panels, windshield, stuff that we design or help to design and help to make, then we must keep on following until the end, sometimes for little questions of millimeters, because problems will come out also at the end before we make parts, okay, when everything seems to be perfect. And we, design, will be always there in those meetings, ready to verify, checking everything, and making sure that nobody changed our surfaces than more than a millimeter, more than 1 millimeter. Because in design, if you change more than 1 millimeter, it's considered fake surface, which means that you had to inform me about that change and I had to validate that change because you are touching my design surface. Okay, so I hope that until now it's kind of clear what I'm saying. What do you think? I read some of your comments at the same time. If we put both together on table, we need both, and designer solving from a beautiful is what perfect combination of design styling. The styling to me is a consequence. Today I think it's a consequence. We shouldn't even use that word. Styling. It's how can I say? Um, when we see fashion designers, but to me, those are more stylists than designers because because of course they have to cope with the human body. But when you see their sketches and you see their first dresses that are only on top of very skinny models, pretty models, it's normal that everything looks perfect and it's very artistic, okay? But when you see the designers, the fashion designers, they take those models and they make those models fit every type of real size of the human female body, of the human male body, well, those are the fashion designers because they are taking that and they are transforming that into something that is feasible, that people can use, that people can put, they can wear in a very elegant way, even if they have force extra size compared to, compared to what was the model, the original model. So we gotta be very careful. Then, for example, there are some excellent scenarios designers of futurist designers like Sid Mead. Take Sid Mead, what a great inspiration. Lots of pure creativity, okay? But he is someone that opened the mind to designers to try to do things that are different and are more modern and that make really an extra step in terms of automobile design. Okay, he's a real designer. And he's a real designer also because when you see his works, you realize that the man is using his brain, following the form, the function, and stuff. It's true that the creativity that some designers have today in some car design studios is not pushed that way. Or maybe I should correct myself. They are, but only in concept car design studio. But also concept car designers, they are not stylists because that prototype that will be shown to journalists to anticipate, a sort of design marketing, trying to promote that brand and the development of that brand for the next 10 or 15 years to come, still has to work. So they still have problems to solve. They still are there working for a year on that project to make sure that that creativity that is so forced, toward the future makes sense and it can be defended. In other words, that's pure design also. Don't think that because that is not done for production, it's considered styling. No, it's wrong. That's pure design too. It's just for a different target. Now, sometimes when we go to car shows, okay, we see some smaller companies, design companies, that have some nice models, but they are static models. And when we see, as I mean us, professionals, okay, of the business, of the car design business, when we go in those shows and we go in and see a little bit what the other smaller companies made, sometimes, not every time, but sometimes we see models that don't have door cuts, don't have motor hood cuts, and their volumes are made in a way that is pure styling. Pure styling. It's not design. Because if looking at those surfaces, I go and put the cuts the way they should be in order to make a hood, a side fender, a front bumper, or what should be a soft nose and stuff, that design would be destroyed. Completely changed. When I see windshields that are like that, for someone that is driving, and the side pillar, it's very much in the front, it's obvious that the head, it's outside the windshield in real life. So we see those stuff. That's styling, because the ergonomy, nobody cared about the ergonomy. Everybody wanted to make a full-size, strong impact styling model. The only problem is that we see that, and in a way we laugh a little bit, because we know that no company, no car design studio, good car design studio, could take that model into consideration as an inspiration to make us work with that company. It's much better for that company to call maybe us directly and say, we have this technology, you put the styling and the design with us, we do it together so that we make a convincing, credible model. Even if it's static, you don't have to have a real running prototype to show that you are credible. You can do it on a static model. So now let's come to what some design schools are doing. I've seen in Europe, in Italy for example, but also in few other schools, those static models that those schools made in full scale. And I know many of you are saying, wow, look at that school. They're making a full-scale model. They must be the best school in the world. On that, we are not so happy about that. For a very simple reason. Because when we see those models, we go again into an incredible effort that a lot of people made, even if there is an important brand behind that sponsor project, okay? But those projects are made in a way that they are so far from reality that it would be much, much better to keep them scale models, less effort, less money spent, and the same student can do another model, okay? So could gain an extra project. And then there is also another consideration to make about these full-scale models done in school. Often they are made by many students, so huge team. It's so difficult already in real life to make sure that people can work together and that the engineer listens to me, or that I listen to the other guy, or that we always, peace and love be with us. It's so difficult. Can you imagine young students that do not have the experience of working together to be 12 or 13 or 14 people, and then everybody say, that's my project. It's not your project. How can it be? I don't think that every student made the same exterior design or has the same level in terms of skills for that full scale model. It's obvious that who did the one or two people made the exterior design, that one person made the interior sketching, and then all the others are working on making the model. But then the pictures of that model are in the portfolios of everybody. And that's a big problem. Because when it's like that, I want to see your contribution because I must evaluate that. You are in school, you must be concerned with that. Because when you make your portfolio, and I see another guy from the same class with another portfolio, and I see both projects are exactly the same, then for me, those projects in both portfolios do not exist because I don't know who did what. So the best way for you to make a good capitalization of that full-scale project, even if I don't agree to make it, okay? If I still believe it's a waste of time and energy, it would be much better to make a small team of 5 people, as I did in school, for that project, okay? It's much better to do that, 5 people, so that you can make a scale model and you can have all the people participating. But the most important thing is that each one of you should have their own sketches, their own illustrations. And don't be shy in proposing your view of that exterior design or interior design, even if it's not exactly the same of what has been decided at the end. The variety of design approach, it's more interesting than one project that is flat horizontally for 13 people in that class. You understand that, I imagine. I read your comments to see what you mean, what you're saying. I think you are talking about speed form. No, I'm not talking about speed form, MD Isha. No, I'm talking about those projects that are made in group. I mean, in Italy, if you see some Italian design schools, they do those huge one-to-one scale projects that after they are showed also in auto shows, okay, in motor shows, which is of course very good to make a promotion of the school. I don't deny that. I understand that there is also necessity for the school, but there are other schools that are, I would say, more important with a bigger history in design that don't do, for example, full-scale models every single trimester or every single year. You know, okay, so now, do you have questions about what we talked until now? If you do, that's the moment you should write down. What are all will be inspiration factors for futuristic design? Okay, in comparison, is under evaluated. Okay, honey, I don't want to be misunderstood. For me, styling it's creativity, so can never be underestimated. It's creativity, okay? But the good creativity is the one that I can apply on a project, to a project, okay? And I can develop as something that becomes or a prototype, okay, or a concept car that still works, or a real design production project. So styling, if you do just styling to do styling, it's useless, okay? But if you do creativity, if you express creativity for the sake of making a project, whether it's an innovation project, research project, or a production project, then in the case it's very good. Let me read the next one. Is some factors are responsible for the model exactly like the designing on paper? What are those factors? Okay, okay, this is Abe Sharma that made a very interesting question. It's possible that sometimes stuff can change, okay? That's normal. If I do a door panel, okay, with a glass that is like that, of course, how can I make this glass come down? Because it's a cylinder. If it comes down like that, means that when it's down here, it's like this, okay? And here I have my seat. So I would have the glass inside my legs. So sometimes sketching or making the first digital model, of course, we make a little exaggeration of some volume, some forms, and some shapes. That's the feeling. Okay, but when we get the famous technical package, then we negotiate. If the package is very vertical, we can negotiate to change that cylinder to be a little bit more, more coming down to make a better tumble home, a little bit stronger. And then, of course, there is a negotiation that will be done in terms of proportions. Then you see the sketch and the real proportions, and you see that the spirit, I would say, the feeling is the same. Then in that case, we can change, okay, a little bit, but they also, technical aspect, they also change so that there is a sort of a negotiation which is going to be a win-win negotiation so that everybody will be satisfied and will be much more reasonable, of course. I hope that I answered to your question. How do students knows about reality? I mean, okay, the question of Martin, how students can understand about or can know about the real world of technicality, real packages, real hard points, the famous hard points that provoke the problem solving that later on we have to solve. If first of all, I want to tell you that I am a believer about the fact that a student, design student, especially the beginning of design school, does not have to know too much about real problematic technical life. Because what is very important, the beginning, of the design education process in school is the first year and a half you have to learn how to draw. As I say always, draw, skills, expression, creativity, put all this together and then you express yourself. And to make that correctly, you need a year and a half of hard work, but really hard work. It's a question of discipline, responsibility, challenging yourself, challenging the teachers, challenging the school, challenging your team, challenging your classmates, challenging yourself. But after that year and a half, of course, the school, in the second part of the design education process, it must give you some, what I call pills of technical, realistic aspects of making a real car, so making a project. Because that's important for understand it. You cannot keep on going just with your creativity unless you become a stylist, no? And we said that we don't want to be judged and recognized as stylists, but as designers. So the step going from learning skills, exercising skills, exercising creativity, moving to making a project in school. In fact, you can see that in school, at the end, you make projects. Then there you learn how to put the two things together and start getting that mentality of being a designer, okay? And when you manage your own project, your own model, you have a small planning. You know that you have a certain time to do things. You know that you have to buy some materials. You know that you have to respect your design. You have to adapt your design to the real proportions. So you are managing your project. So you get also a little bit of your managerial, how can I say, capability, okay? You exercise a little bit of being manager yourself. Let me read. I try sketching, digital modeling, developing products from car to home appliance. I refer to trends and ideas of futuristic. Okay, good. Me some inspiration of futuristic designs. I will, Vengeresh, I will talk about this later. I just want to finish this part because. Okay, good. Does those technical aspects and reality crash restrict our creativity? Abe Sharma, very interesting question. You guys should read the question. Creativity, in my opinion, should never be crushed because of technical problems. Because as I said from the beginning of this live design talk with you, which is, I repeat, design versus styling, creativity has to be supported by technical and functional aspects. So the two things go together. The magic thing is to make sure that you put them together without making without making creativity suffer more than technicality, or vice versa, the technical aspects suffer more than creativity. So we must have always a good balance between the two positions. It will change, but they they have to come to a final decision of compromise which is satisfying for both parties. In that case, you have a good design project and you do not feel like a frustrated design because you had to give up a lot of your design. In reality, I can assure you by experience that design can be preserved. It can be preserved. As long as you start making a design for a project, for a given project, respecting that briefing, respecting how those proportions really are. Because if the proportions are respected, then we don't have really big problems. Problems you have when you make something ultra sleek and your car is very high. And of course, how can you combine the two things? So that's why I say, don't be a stylist, be a designer. Check that briefing. Listen to what people are expecting from you. And do your best creative work to give them a good answer. Okay, let me read. Won't the technicalities being instead an opportunity to actually use creativity to get around the problem? Yes, Kunal, you said the right thing. I believe that every time, I can tell you for experience, every time in front of me I had engineers that had their problem, okay, to solve the technical problem, that they were inspired by our creative approach. They made an extra step and they made a different approach using their creativity to solve a technical problem and make sure that that technical problem solved was compatible, I would say 90%, with our design surfaces. Then that last 10%, I can modify, I can change. There's no big deal. If I change an orientation of a surface, because that's the best thing I can do so that a screw or a sheet metal structural element is not going through the skin of my door panel, then I'll do it, of course. If it's for a few millimeters, let's do it. But before I do it, I want you, engineers, studying an alternative solution to make sure that you don't take 20 centimeters, but you take half of it, 10 centimeters. And their solutions, technical solutions, are there. The engineers just have to use their creativity, and most of the time pushed by us, which is correct. That's the good project approach. within a team in a company to make sure that each one of us is giving something for the project. You have told people what they want before they know what they want. I didn't understand. Multiple functionality. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Perfect balance is important. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? We still have 10 minutes together. There's one thing very interesting is that a few people always ask me, but Luciano, now that you do basic design management, so I do this, I sketch for you, with you, I have fun, okay? And of course, my hand, it's, how can I say, it's not as fresh as it used to be when I was a lot younger or when I came out of school. So, but people ask me sometimes, but as a designer, are you still satisfied with your creative approach, or do you feel like you became just a sort of manager like other managers in a big company, trying to to make sure that the problems are solved? And my answer is always that I always feel as a designer, always, because the approach, my mental approach, is always if I were designing that thing. And when they ask me for the modification necessary to accomplish that project, I always put myself at the place of the designer. And I ask myself, what would I do in that situation? And that puts me in the opportunity, in the position to offer creativity. So yes, I am creative in a different way, but I am using my creativity. The same thing when I'm working with someone, for example, with colleagues that make digital models. I don't have always the designers next to me that are there for single, points or millimeters or radius or stuff. So I am the one that helps sometimes when I check how the work in progress of the project on every single element, and because of that context that I know very well, I try to give a hand because I am a designer. Of course, if I'm not sure, if I have my boss that says I'm not so sure that that's the right solution, thing that can happen, then I will ask the designer to come back, check the problem, and give us his support or her support. But in most of the cases, when we are in a very advanced position of that project, I will be there trying to make everybody agree together, making and managing that modification with my creativity. And that gives me a great satisfaction because it means that the experience that I matured as a designer is helping me also in managing that project from the design point of view. I hope that I answered that. Having industrial design education. What do stylists think about designer? Hey, Martin, I don't know. I never talked to someone like a stylist, to be honest. Mauro Diaz, ciao, how you doing from America? Well, besides car design, what would you recommend we draw on our free time to spark creativity? Product design, about future. Okay, so let's talk about how to exercise creativity, as Mauro and some other people ask me, and also Vanish when he is crazy, Mr. Crazy, when he's asking how you inspire futuristic design. Okay, the two things in reality go together. How do we do at work? Yeah, that's the first question. When I see the young designers in our design studios, okay, or in interior design studio, concept design stuff, how do they do to stimulate their creativity, to make that extra step that is required? Of course, internet is our first source of inspiration because internet gives you a sort of a personal benchmarking that you can make and that it's used, needed and used to be up to date with what other people are doing. Today it's so easy to virtually get out of home and go on the other side of the world and see, I don't know, how a Japanese designer did something, or or an Indian designer did something, or a Chinese designer. 20 years ago, it was a little bit more difficult, but today it's so easy. So Google, Pinterest, you know, and all other social medias that show design trends, marketing and stuff, they're an incredible YouTube also. They're an incredible source of studies for research. So first thing I suggest you, be curious. That's very important. Always be curious, okay? And then once that you are curious, and then you collected videos, images, whatever you like, put them together. Make your mood boards. When we talked about mood board, make your own mood board. Have fun. Use nice colors. It's a little bit like painting. Make your painting of a mood board, okay? With your best choices images. Simcom.com is a great source also. See, get inspired emotionally from other excellent designers, not from my sketches that are just basic stuff. Go to the real master of car design, those people that are younger than me or older than me that you can find on simcom.com. You will find beautiful stuff. That's excellent to motivate you, to push you to sketch. It's a little bit like me. Look at this weekend. I was inspired by some really interesting tutorials that I saw on Instagram from some of my friends that are better than me. I said, oh, Luciano, we gotta try to do something this weekend. So that's what I tried to do. That was an inspiration. And while I was sketching, I was thinking of new details, of new stuff. Okay? Now, I am old, but you are young. So your inspiration and your translation of your inspiration will be a lot more creative than what I can offer today in terms of car design. So that's the first thing, okay? That sort of research. Then that will motivate you to say and think, now that I got all this type of knowledge, now that I mastered this knowledge, now that I know exactly what I have in my target, what can I do to make that extra step? Because that's what we're talking about. What is the extra creative step you can make? Then you challenge yourself. And of course, the first time maybe it's not coming correct. Who cares? Do it again. Leave it. Come back after 2 days. Think it again. Walk. Play guitar. I don't know, watch a movie. And then there will be some details, some things that will get your attention and will help you to make a transition from good creativity to the extra step, creative step. Okay? And that's how I guess everybody tries to do. I hope that I answered to your question. Yeah, Behance is very good also. Yeah, I forgot. Already department established. Thank you very much for all your sketching together class. I'm process of working. That's Harry Franklin. Hi, Harry. Working through this from the beginning, and they are very useful. Okay, thank you very much. I am glad, Harry, that you like my tutorials. Okay, go and check also Michele Leonello's tutorials. You find him on Instagram. Okay, he's a very good friend of mine, also on Facebook. Michele Leonello. Design from ET. Yes, I really appreciate your answer. Okay, great, Mauro. I'm very happy that you liked it. Design from. I don't understand what Mr. Isha is writing. Okay, good. Well, you know what? 1 hour went by. I guess we had fun tonight again. I'm very satisfied because for me it's very important to explain dual drama, this dilemma, on which about which many journalists of the car design world and design world write and wrote and write articles. I also wrote articles about design and styling, or creativity against creative feasible design. That's also the same thing. I also wrote on my website some articles about it. But it's very important that this time we made this video because I think I could express myself easier. Because when we write, when I write, of course, I gotta be careful about the grammar in English that I don't remember too well. So it's a little bit more complicated. But in my conversation, I would say my English comes out much better, and with more passion also. So it's better for you probably to understand me or to share with me the position, even if you don't agree. So I give you appointment here again next week, same time, all right? And don't worry, I will make a short trailer video to announce you what we'll be sketching next Monday. As you know, we make alternate design talk and sketching tutorials, okay? So this channel becomes more interesting. Spread the word, put your like, share the video once it's completely saved on my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Ciao. Thank you.